Hi everyone and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
So today's article is all about a famous band. So Elsie, who are some of your favorite bands or singers?
I started loving Queen after watching the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
Good choice. I liked Queen. I still like Queen. I started listening to Queen's music when I was younger.
But I used to like this British band called Blue.
Okay.
A boy band.
Okay, a boy
band. When I was in junior high school.
I think I remember the name. I could not name one of their songs.
Like Sorry or something.
Oh, come on, like every band or singer has a song called Sorry somewhere.
Okay, and the main reason was that they were really attracted to me.
They were attracted to you.
At
they
that
all
time.
liked you.
Oh, they were very attractive.
Well, maybe. I'm sure if they'd met you, they would have been attracted to you.
Attractive to me.
Yes. Well, some of my favorite bands, probably the UK dance act, The Prodigy. You've never heard of them?
No.
No. Firestarter?
Nope.
No. Oh, well, never mind. I'm old. A lot of other bands, I like different kinds of music. So sometimes I like a bit more heavy metal-y kind of stuff. Sometimes I prefer a bit of blues. Sometimes more kind of like reggae, ska kind of music. So I depends what kind of mood I'm in, really. And so I expect if I named some of those bands, neither you nor our listeners would know who they are. But I'll maybe send you some links later.
Okay.
So the band we are talking today, though, is called the Carpenters. Have you heard of them?
Yes, 木匠兄妹, the Carpenters.
Okay, I've heard of them. I'm not really that familiar. I've probably heard the songs, didn't realize it was them. Like, oh, yeah, I know this. Because I'm sure many of them are famous. Well, let's read through today's article and find out more about them.
Reading.
Remembering the Carpenters, the brother and sister musical team. The 1970s was a strange time for pop music. Many rock bands continued the style of the 1960s. They preferred writing songs that were really loud and really long. But other bands went back to the softer, more traditional forms of the 1950s. The Carpenters were one such band. Richard Carpenter wrote their tunes on a piano, while his sister Karen sang in a gentle voice. She was also their drummer. All through the 1970s, their pleasant songs sailed lightly out of radios around the world. Adults loved the band while their long-haired, rock-loving kids couldn't stand them. Today, music fans realize that the Carpenters didn't get the respect they deserved. Richard was a clever musician who was trained in jazz. He created unique melodies with interesting chord changes, and Karen's voice made listeners feel special emotions. Madonna and many other famous female singers were influenced by Karen's style. Sadly, Karen died in 1983 when she was 32. Since then, she has been remembered fondly, while the Carpenters' music brings comfort to new generations.
So the article begins by saying, the 1970s was a strange time for pop music.
Pop music 就是我们说的流行音乐。那1970年代呢，对于流行音乐来说是一个奇怪的时期。Why? The article says, many rock bands continued the style of the 1960s. 很多摇滚乐团呢，他们延续1960年代的风格，并没有做任何的改变哦。They didn't change the style from the 60s.
And what was this style? Well, the article explains, saying, they, that's the bands, preferred writing songs that were really loud and really long. Thinking about really long, another one of my favorite bands, The Doors, they have songs that end a few of their albums that are 11 or 12 minutes long.
11 or 12 minutes?
Yep, check out songs
For
like...
one song.
For one song, check out songs like The End or When the Music's Over or The Soft Parade, the album version of Light My Fire. These are like 11-minute songs.
Okay, I think I have to check them out later.
Okay,
所以这边说到呢，1960年代的这个 style 风格是，他们偏好写一些很大声又很长的歌。But not all bands did this. The article says...But other bands went back to the softer, more traditional forms of the 1950s.
That's right. Now, the word traditional is related to traditions, things that people have been doing in the same way for a long time. Traditional music is music the way people have been making it for many years, so not newer styles. We could also talk about traditional things to do on birthdays, so giving cards and gifts, eating cake, blowing out the candles on the cake, and so on. These are all traditional things people have done for ages. Here's another example. It's traditional for Americans to eat turkey at the Thanksgiving meal.
所以呢，对美国人来说，在Thanksgiving 也就是感恩节吃火鸡是一件传统。那 traditional 这个形容词呢，就是传统的。那我们把字尾的 al 去掉，我们会看到 tradition 它是名词传统的意思。So here we see that other bands went back to the softer, more traditional forms of the 1950s， 也就是回到50年代那更轻柔、更传统的音乐形式。
That's right, and the article says the Carpenters were one such band.
木匠兄妹就是这样的乐团。So who were the Carpenters? The article says Richard Carpenter wrote their tunes on a piano while his sister Karen sang in a gentle voice. 哥哥 Richard 他用钢琴写歌，那妹妹 Karen 呢就用她温柔的嗓音唱出这些歌曲。
Next, we see that she was also their drummer.
她也是鼓手 so she could sing and played the drums.
Not many people, drummer-singers.
Right.
Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters and Nirvana.
He was too?
Singer-drummer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not too many, though.
好啦，那文章继续说咯。All through the 1970s, their pleasant songs sailed lightly out of radios around the world.
Let's look at the word pleasant, which means nice, something that makes people feel happy and pleased, and with qualities that won't really upset anyone. Pleasant weather is warm and dry, but not too hot. A pleasant day would mean doing nice things with people you like. So we could say, for example, it was pleasant to sit in the park and read my book for half an hour in peace.Pleasant
这个形容词呢是令人愉快的或是惬意的。那相反呢，我们会在字首加上 un 变成 unpleasant。那文章说到啊，在整个1970年代当中，他们令人愉快的歌曲 sailed lightly out of radios around the world. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of describing it. We describe these songs as sailing out of the radio.The verb sail is usually used for boats moving on the water with the wind pushing their sails, but we can use the verb sail to mean anything moving in the same kind of way. Sailing is often a smooth, gentle movement, so you can imagine how these songs come calmly out of the radio, not like a loud, heavy metal song or a dance song with loud, fast beats, but moving like a boat across a lake, gently and, as the article says, lightly.Sail
这个动词呢，我们有学过，它是航行的意思哦。所以呢，这边说到这样子的原因呢，是代表他们的音乐像一艘轻快航行的船只，从收音机的那一端传出来。
Back to the article, which says adults loved the band, while their long-haired, rock-loving kids.Couldn't stand them.
那我们看到连接词 while 在这边呢，用来带出前后句意相反的两个句子哦。成人都很喜爱木匠兄妹的歌，但是他们留长发、爱摇滚的孩子却没有办法忍受他们。They might think they're too soft.
Exactly. Like, what's this? Where's the long guitar craziness?
Where's my rock and roll?
Exactly.Then
the next paragraph talks about how people think of the Carpenters now. It says, today, music fans realize that the Carpenters didn't get the respect they deserved.
That's right. Well, if you deserve something, then this is what you should get if the world was fair and right. Criminals deserve punishment, people who work hard deserve success, and so on. Unfortunately, the world doesn't always work that way, but it should. So if someone gets something as a reward or as a punishment for what they've done, we usually say, this is what they deserve.
Deserve 这个动词呢代表应得，所以如果今天 Pat 得到最棒英文老师奖 The Best Teacher Award
Thank you.
I'll say to him, you deserve it. 这是你应得的。那如果今天有个学生受到不该有的惩罚呢，这个学生可能会说 I don't deserve this. 好啦，那到了今日呢，音乐粉丝们了解到木匠兄妹当初并没有得到他们应得的重视。
So the article goes on to explain why the Carpenters should have got more recognition and respect. It says, Richard was a clever musician who was trained in jazz.
所以这边谈到的聪明的音乐家，那就是木匠兄妹的哥哥 Richard。他过去呢是受到 jazz music 爵士乐的训练。Next, it says he created unique melodies with interesting chord changes.And Karen's voice made listeners feel special emotions.
So a melody is a tune, basically. It's a sequence of notes that sounds nice when they're played in the right order and at the right speed. Songs need melodies, and the melodies often repeat, sometimes with slight variations throughout the song. So you might think of some classical music having very complex melodies, but as we see in this example sentence,Punk rock songs generally have very simple melodies.
Melody 它代表就是歌曲或是旋律，那我们也可以用 tune 这个字。那再来呢，跟音乐相关的还有像是 notes 音符，beat 节奏或是 lyrics 歌词，好，这些字我们都可以一起学。所以呢，课文这边提到的是哥哥 Richard 他创造独特的歌曲 and the melodies he created had interesting chord changes.
Yeah, chords. A quick note on pronunciation. This is CH, but you still pronounce it chord, not chord. Okay, it's kind of a hard K, a hard C sound.Now, I'm the least musical person ever. I don't really know much about this. I've never learned to play an instrument. But from what I understand from a quick Google, a chord is 3 notes played together to create a harmony between them. There are hundreds of different chords and more depending on what kind of instrument you play, though not all musicians use all the chords. It depends on the style of the song, on the style of the music.Now, an interesting chord change will create a cool song. They'll create something you think, oh, that's a nice thing to listen to. But in my experience, listeners won't even know when the chord changes happen a lot of the time.
Okay, and I'm not a music expert either, but I'll try to explain this word to our students. Chord, 和弦。那3个音呢，可以组成1个和弦，还有7和弦、9和弦等等多种不同的和弦哦。那有趣的和弦变化呢，可以为歌曲增添不同的色彩。好啦，所以哥哥 Richard 他写出这么棒的歌曲，妹妹的嗓音则会让听者有不同的情绪感受。
We also see how the Carpenters affected other musicians. The article says Madonna and many other famous female singers were influenced by Karen's style. If you influence someone, you cause a change in their thinking or their behavior. Now, when we talk about artists influencing other artists, we mean the first artist has an effect on the second, maybe getting them interested in making their own music, or affecting how they develop their style, or showing them different musical possibilities. You hear somebody and you think, I want to be like them, maybe only a bit like them, but still like them. For example, we have the musician Chuck Berry, who passed away this May, influenced many rock and roll musicians, including the Beatles.
Influence 这个动词呢，代表影响。那课文里面呢，它用的是被动哦，因为我们看到2个字 were influenced， 前面 be 动词选的是 were， 后面 influence 加了 d 变成它的过去分词。那这篇文章说到的是马丹娜和其他很多有名的女歌手都是受到 Karen 的影响。So, Pat, I have a question here.
Yes.
Do the Carpenters still play?
Unfortunately, no. As the article explains, sadly, Karen died in 1983 when she was 32, so pretty young.
1983年的时候呢 Karen 过世了，享年32岁。And what happened after that?
Well, next, the article says, since then, she has been remembered fondly, while the Carpenters' music brings comfort to new generations. So we have a few things to look at in the last sentence of this article, starting with the adverb fondly. So remember, it's an adverb, so we're using it to mostly modify a verb. To be fond of something is to like that thing, and so if you do something fondly, you do it in a way that shows you like that thing or feel affection towards it. We often use this adverb with verbs like think, smile, talk, all actions that you can do in a way that shows your affection or makes you feel and shows that you like that thing. For example, we could say, the mother smiled fondly as she watched her son playing with his toys.
Fondly 这个副词呢代表喜爱的，那你把字尾的 ly 拿掉，你会看到 fond 这个形容词代表喜欢的、喜爱的。那它的用法是呢，主词出来之后啊，要给它一个 be 动词，再加上 fond of， 再加上名词或是动名词。For example, I'm fond of pop music. 我喜欢的是流行音乐。What about you, Pat?
I am not fond of pop music.
I know you are not.
I'm fond of hot weather. There we go.
你喜欢热天气 What?
Yes, and using the adverb, I could say I speak fondly of my year living in Edinburgh. So I talk about that and yeah, Edinburgh was great. I liked it there. And so on.
那回到课文哦 Karen 呢，她被大众一直怀念着 and their music brings comfort to new generations.
Yes, another word we're going to look at is comfort. Here we're using it as a noun. And as a noun, it could mean a state of ease and relaxation or relief from a difficult time or situation or feelings. You could listen to the Carpenters when you feel sad and it might make you feel better. Or you could listen to their music and it will help you relax a bit. I've got 2 example sentences here to demonstrate the different uses. For kind of more like the relaxed version, we could say, the friends sat in comfort and discussed their recent vacation. In terms of the meaning of bringing relief, we could say, the mother offered her daughter comfort after she'd fallen down and hurt her leg.
Comfort 在文章中呢，它当名词代表安慰、慰藉。那刚刚 Pat 老师给的例句呢 ，The friends sat in comfort， 那个 comfort 代表舒服、舒适，当然也是名词的用法。那另外呢 ，comfort 也可以当作动词来使用哦，那就代表安慰的动作。For example, they tried to comfort their friend, but they didn't know what to say to her. 他们试着安慰朋友，但却不知道该说什么好。那如果我们在 comfort 的字尾加上 able， 就会看到我们一个很熟悉的形容词 comfortable， 舒服、舒适的。
So the final word of the article was generation. A generation is all the people born in a particular time, maybe a spell of 5 to 10 years, and who therefore remember the same experiences, and the word is used to mean these people in general. We often talk about it to mean kind of family groups or almost like levels. My grandparents' generation, my parents' generation, my generation, Elsie's generation, and my son's generation. All of these different groups will have different life experiences, remember different things, enjoy different cultural stuff like music and movies, grow up in different ways, and so on.
Generation 这个名词呢，代表世代。And Pat, I know I'm from Generation Y, also known as the Millennials.
Okay.
千禧世代。What about you? Are you from this generation too?
No, I'm one of those that kind of falls in the cracks between generations X and Y. There is
in the middle.
I think there's a word that's like Xennials or something like that. It's basically for people who were born in the very late 70s or early 80s. We didn't get the internet until we were already teenagers, so we
Right.
do remember life and growing up before that, but we got into technology early enough in our lives to sort of understand it and make use of it and not be afraid of it. So it's this kind of odd gap of 5 years between Generation X and Generation Y.
Why? Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I am. I'm a bit of nothing, a bit of everything. Well, that brings us to the end of the article, so it's now time for today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So the question is, do you know of any Taiwanese singers or bands who were appreciated many years later? What is special about their music?
Actually, I don't know any Taiwanese singers or bands that got more popular many years later.
Many
but
years later.
I do know about one Hong Kong singer and actor. He got a lot popular and was appreciated more after he committed suicide.
Who was that?
张国荣.
Okay, I've not heard of
I
him.
think his English name was Leslie Zhang.
Okay, I imagine that there's probably a lot of singers who sang only in Taiwanese during the time when people weren't really supposed to sing in Taiwanese. Who I don't know any examples, but there
Right.
must be many from that part of Taiwan's history. I'm also wondering whether we could include Freddie Lim's band, Chthonic, the heavy metal band, because I imagine when they started, heavy metal was not popular, so they didn't get much recognition at all. Now they're a very big band, and he's in the government, so it's kind of like they must now get more recognition than when they started and made their first bunch of albums.
Right.
So, of course, they still play and still make music, but I guess they weren't appreciated by many people at all when they first started out.
Or their music was banned at that time.
Probably true.
Right.
I'm not sure when they got started, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, well, that is some ideas. I'm sure you guys might be able to research and find out a few more singers and bands who didn't really get noticed and recognized until much later in their lives, or maybe even after they passed away. But that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Remembering the Carpenters, the brother and sister musical team. The 1970s was a strange time for pop music. Many rock bands continued the style of the 1960s. They preferred writing songs that were really loud and really long. But other bands went back to the softer, more traditional forms of the 1950s. The Carpenters were one such band. Richard Carpenter wrote their tunes on a piano, while his sister Karen sang in a gentle voice. She was also their drummer. All through the 1970s, their pleasant songs sailed lightly out of radios around the world. Adults loved the band while their long-haired, rock-loving kids couldn't stand them. Today, music fans realize that the Carpenters didn't get the respect they deserved. Richard was a clever musician who was trained in jazz. He created unique melodies with interesting chord changes, and Karen's voice made listeners feel special emotions. Madonna and many other famous female singers were influenced by Karen's style. Sadly, Karen died in 1983 when she was 32. Since then, she has been remembered fondly, while the Carpenters' music brings comfort to new generations.
Vocabulary Review.
Traditional. Chinese culture is full of traditional medicines that have been used for thousands of years. Pleasant. I had a pleasant afternoon drinking tea and chatting with my friends in a coffee shop. Melody. Bert and Hal are a good songwriting team. Hal writes the words and Bert writes the melodies. Influence. Thomas's habit of smoking was influenced by his friends. Fondly. Annette speaks fondly of her neighbor, who is always so kind to her. Comfort. Jenny felt scared playing the piano in front of people, but her grandpa's smile gave her comfort.
智慧小补帖
Deserve. Chord. Generation.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net